You sit before me now, graceful as the moonlight draping the dunes, your eyes ancient with wisdom, your soul heavy with stories. And yet, as I look at you, I cannot help but feel the gravity of what's been said, what's been warned, and what I chose to defy. My father, Sheikh Mohammed, his words still echo through the royal corridors of my mind. Hamdan, be careful with this woman. She does not belong to your world. He said it not with hatred, but with fear, a father's fear that his son was falling into a fire disguised as calm. But he didn't see what I saw. He didn't feel what I felt. You, with your voice like velvet prayers and your laugh like thunder wrapped in silk, how could I walk away from that? You walked into my life not asking for anything, not begging for recognition, not trying to fit. You didn't need to. You were the rhythm I didn't know I was missing. But still, my father watched you like a hawk circling the unknown. She is too seasoned. Too worldly. She has seen too much. Her silence hides storms. And maybe he was right. Maybe you do carry storms. But what he failed to understand is, I was ready to be soaked by your rain. They told me love should look a certain way. That it should arrive in youth, in purity, in dresses the color of tradition. But you came wrapped in time itself, dressed in experience, scented with memories of places I've never been. And while the world saw you as a woman too seasoned for a prince, they never saw the boy in me that felt safe in your arms, the man in me who craved your scars, not your perfection. My father warned me, not knowing I was already too far gone, already entangled in the poetry of your presence. He saw you as a threat to the legacy, a distraction from my destiny. But what is a legacy without love? What is a throne without the echo of a woman's wisdom guiding the man who sits upon it? They wanted me to choose a rose that never wilted, but you were the desert flower who bloomed despite every storm. And I fell for your survival, not your softness. I fell for the fact that you never asked for a kingdom. You only ever asked me to be honest with myself. And I must admit, there were moments I questioned it too. Not because I doubted you, but because the weight of his warning hung around my neck like a chain of gold. She will change you, Hamdan. She already is. He said it like it was a curse. But why is change always feared in palaces built on ancient silence? Yes, you changed me. You taught me to think past the mirrors and the marble. You taught me to listen, not just command. And in that, I became not less of a prince, but more of a man. There were whispers in every corner of the palace. Women I was supposed to love, with smiles like rehearsed dances, their every move calculated for court. And yet, I would find myself escaping them, sneaking away to a garden where you sat, reading old poetry as if the world wasn't hunting us. I remember that moment you looked up and said, Hamdan, you will lose more than just a crown if you choose me. And I answered without thinking, then let me lose it. But let me not lose you. This love, it has been a rebellion, hasn't it? A quiet war waged with glances and poetry, fought in silence under the crescent moon. You never asked to be loved. That's what made me love you more. You never tried to erase your age, your past, your truth. You wore it like royalty. And maybe that's what scared my father most. Not your years, but your power. The power of a woman who needs nothing from a man, yet commands his heart completely. Do you know what it's like to love someone the world says you shouldn't? To feel fire in your blood every time they say her name with disdain? And yet, here I am. Choosing you. Still. Because you are not a woman to be approved, you are a woman to be experienced, honored, remembered. They will write stories of you not because you were the expected choice, but because you were the right one. The real one. My father's warnings were his love in disguise. He was trying to protect the boy he raised, not realizing that boy had already become a man who could choose his own path, even if it leads away from his expectations. I do not blame him. He loved me as best he could. But I love you as I must. And that means walking this line with you, even if I do it alone. But somehow, I know I'm not alone. Not when your eyes still look at me like I'm the only prince in the world. So here I am, no longer hiding you in shadows, no longer whispering your name like it's forbidden. Let the world say what it will. Let my father sit with his silence. I am not ashamed of you. You are not my mistake. You are my masterpiece. The one love that taught me that not all crowns shine, some burn, and I will gladly wear the fire if it means I get to keep you by my side. Come closer. Let me trace the lines of your face, the maps of where you've been, the legacy etched into your skin. Let me love you with the same courage it took to defy an empire. Because Dad warned me about this woman, yes. But he didn't warn me how she would become my entire world. And now that I know, I will never walk away. You know, when I look at you now, older than the woman they thought I'd marry, wiser than all the women they paraded before me, I see not just what the world fears, but what my soul craves. You are not the danger my father imagined. You are the sanctuary I didn't know I needed. And perhaps that is what frightened him the most. Because he knows me. He knows that once I give my heart, I do not take it back. And he could feel that I had already placed it in your hands. Not with hesitation, but with surrender. Not out of rebellion, but out of reverence. There is something unteachable about the way you move through life. Your past, full of heartbreaks, triumphs, secrets and storms, it surrounds you like a halo of thunder. You walk like you've survived wars without ever raising your voice. That kind of strength does not come wrapped in youth or polished elegance. It comes from having been broken and choosing to rebuild. I see the cracks in you, and I do not flinch. I see the ruins and I run toward them. Because in your ruins, I found a home more honest than any palace. I often wonder how different our story would be if you had come to me younger, fresher, unscarred. But then I stop myself. Because I would not have fallen for a softer version of you. I would not have been transformed by a woman who hadn't already walked through fire. It is your knowing that undid me. The way you could silence a room without speaking. The way you could I fell for the woman who didn't need a crown, but could wear one without asking. You never needed me. That's why I needed you. Do you remember when I told you my father saw you as a test? That he believed you came into my life to challenge my loyalty to the throne? He was right, only he misunderstood what kind of test you were. You weren't sent to destroy my crown. You were sent to show me how empty it felt without love. You were sent to remind me that royalty without realness is just gold with no weight. And for the first time in my life, I was ready to fail the exam if it meant passing the test of the heart. You've never asked me to choose. Not once. You would have let me walk away 100 times without dragging me back. But that's exactly why I stayed. Because when someone gives you freedom and you still choose them, that's not weakness. That's not foolishness. That's truth. And my truth was always drawn to your fire, to your shadows, to the parts of you that others were too scared to love. I chose you not despite your age, but because of it. I chose you because when you hold me, I feel like the world cannot touch us. Every time I speak your name now, there's a kind of hush that falls over the room. Some of it is judgment. Some of it is awe. But none of it matters. What matters is that when the lights are gone and the titles fade, I still crave your voice, your touch, your gaze that strips me bare without ever shaming me. They think love is supposed to elevate us to some unreachable fantasy. But you grounded me. You reminded me that even a prince needs to kneel sometimes. And I would kneel at your feet again if it meant I could stay in your presence for even a minute longer. They warned me you'd distract me from my duties. But you became the compass I now steer by. I speak differently because of you. I move with purpose, not pride. I understand silence because I've watched how you fill a room with it. I negotiate peace, not with power, but with presence. That is what they never expected. That the woman they called dangerous would be the one to make me better. Stronger. Wiser. Not in the eyes of rulers, but in the eyes of my own soul. And when my father looks at me now, he does so with a quiet acceptance. He doesn't speak her name anymore, but he sees the man I've become. And I know deep down, he understands. Maybe not fully. Maybe not enough to embrace you at court. But he knows I made a choice not out of rebellion, but out of recognition. You were the mirror I didn't know I needed. And in your reflection, I saw not just who I was, but who I could become. So tonight, let the palace remain silent. Let the traditions sleep. Let the scrolls and laws take a breath. Because I am not here to defend my love, I am here to live it. To breathe it. To hold the hand of the woman my father feared, and tell her, you are not my mistake. You are my prayer, answered in a way only heaven could understand. You are the woman I was warned about. And I thank the stars every day that I didn't listen. And if this world forgets everything else about me, let them remember this one thing: I loved a woman who was forbidden, feared, misunderstood, and I loved her without hesitation. In a palace of mirrors and masks, I found truth in your bare soul. While others were busy measuring protocol and lineage, I was discovering eternity in your laughter lines and the stories folded into your skin. You weren't just older, you were eternal. And I didn't fall in love with your years. I fell in love with the lifetimes behind your eyes. The air between us is thick with what we've risked: my father's disappointment, the court's quiet gasps, the advisor's doubts, but none of it weighs more than the way your hand fits into mine. They warned me you would take from me, but you've only ever given. You gave me clarity when my world spun with expectation. You gave me stillness when the world demanded speed. And when everyone else only saw the future I was meant to build, you were the only one who dared ask if I was happy in it. So now I say this not in defiance, but in devotion. If I had to live this life 100 times over, I'd choose you every time. Even if it meant hearing my father's voice break each time I said your name. Even if it meant standing alone in a court that sees age as shame. Even if it meant walking away from titles or thrones. I would still choose you, the woman with truth in her silence and galaxies in her grief. Because being loved by you has made me more than any crown ever could. I see your eyes watching me now, unsure if this is another beautiful moment soon to fade. But I need you to know, I am not walking away. This is not a poem meant to disappear with the dawn. This is a vow. Not carved in marble or spoken beneath chandeliers, but whispered between two souls who found each other against the odds. I was warned about you, but maybe some warnings are gifts in disguise. Maybe warnings are how fate prepares us for something far greater than we were told we deserved. They said you would ruin me, and in a way, you did. You ruined the old me, the one too afraid to feel deeply, to love recklessly, to embrace someone who didn't fit the mold. You ruined the image they built for me, and in its place, you gave me something real. Something raw. You gave me myself. You gave me the permission to want more than a throne. You gave me the courage to chase the fire I saw in your eyes, knowing it might burn me, and hoping it would. So take my hand now, not as a secret, not in the shadows, but here, in the light. Let them say what they will. Let history write what it must. But when they write about Sheikh Hamdan, let them write of a prince who loved boldly. Let them write of a woman they called danger, who turned out to be destiny. Let them write about us, not as scandal, but as scripture. Because this love was never a mistake. It was the miracle we were both